talked about where the credits come from and how they work. Or actually, we're going to talk a little bit more about how they work. So I mentioned to you earlier that often when people teach courses, these tax credit 101 classes, when you go to seminars and to conferences, they tend to assume that you know things that not all normal people know. And one of the things that folks assume that you know is the difference between a federal income tax deduction and a federal income tax credit. And if you don't understand that distinction, you will never understand how low-income housing tax credits work. So in a deduction, the amount that you're taxed on is decreased, right? In a credit, the amount of taxes that you pay is reduced. So let's look at that a little bit more closely here. So if you made $100,000 a year and you had a $20,000 federal income tax deduction, so you got a deduction on your income taxes, you would pay tax on $80,000, right? So the deduction reduces the amount that you have to pay taxes on. If you assume that you're taxed at a rate of 30%, which is about average for most normal people, then you would pay $24,000 in taxes with a $20,000 federal income tax deduction. On the other hand, if you made $100,000 and you had a $20,000 federal income tax credit, then you would only pay $10,000 in income taxes. Why? Because what the credit does is it's subtracted from the amount of taxes you owe. If you make $100,000 a year and you have a $20,000 credit, then what happens is you take 30% of $100,000, you're taxed on that full amount, and that equals $30,000. So your tax liability is $30,000, but the beauty of the credit is that you subtract the credit from the amount you ultimately owe. So you owe $30,000 with the $20,000 credit subtracted from it, you only owe $10,000, right? So the tax credit, federal income tax credit, is much more valuable than a deduction. Both are good, but that's even more valuable. The low-income housing tax credit program came about as part of the 1986 change to the tax code, which was initiated by President Ronald Reagan. And as we've talked about, it gives you a dollar-for-dollar reduction in your federal income tax liability. And this program has been codified and extended and has been used extensively to be able to provide affordable housing to millions of people across the United States. So that concludes my presentation. I hope that you now have a broader understanding of public housing, of housing choice vouchers, and of the federal low-income housing tax credit program. Thank you very, very much for taking time out of your day to spend with me. I know you all are very busy people, and I really, really value your time and your friendship and your kindness. If any of you have good feedback, it doesn't even have to be constructive feedback. It can be destructive feedback if you want. I don't care. I just want feedback about what I could do to make this better, more helpful, etc. Okay? So can we open it up for questions?